Good morning. We call the meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 9. Welcome to meeting number 9 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of November 25th, 2021. Members are attending in the room and they're attending by Zoom. So, as you are aware, webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. Given the ongoing pandemic situation and in light of the recommendations from health authorities as well as the directive of the Board of Internal Economy on October 19, 2021 to remain healthy and safe, all those attending the meeting in person shall abide by the appropriate rules. As the chair, I will be enforcing these measures for the duration of the meeting, and I thank members in advance for their cooperation. To ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few of the rules. Members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, French or English. If interpretation is lost, inform me immediately and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. For members participating in person, proceed as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person in a committee room. Keep in mind that the Board of Internal Economy guidelines for mask use and health protocols. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your microphones will be controlled by the verification officer. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly, and when you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. With regard to a speaking list, the committee clerk and I will do the best we can to maintain consolidated order of speaking for all members, whether they are participating virtually or in person. And please do not be shy to remind me. Today's meeting is briefing on the ministerial mandate letters, pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on January 31st. The committee will proceed to a briefing on the ministerial mandate letters. I would like to welcome our witnesses to begin our discussion with 5 minutes of opening remarks followed by questions. Appearing will be the Honourable Ahmad Hussein, Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion, Romy Bowers from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Department of Canadian Heritage, Mala Khanna, Office of Infrastructure Canada, Janet Golding, Associate Deputy Minister. Before we begin, I would like some direction from the committee. As is my understanding, we may have to suspend briefly for voting. It's 30-minute bells, but since everybody has the option of voting by distance, if it's the wish of the committee, we would suspend for the last 10 minutes of the just prior to the vote, so that committee members can participate virtually on the vote. And I would seek agreement to extend the committee by the amount of time, or extend the first hour by the amount of time we would suspend for the vote. If that's agreeable to the committee before we begin. Agreeable?
Yeah, that's acceptable. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Madam Kusi. So with that, we will begin with Minister Hussein. You have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start by acknowledging that I'm joining all of you virtually from the traditional land of the Algonquin Anishinaabeg peoples. As we all know too well, this decade has had an incredibly difficult start. Le logement a un rôle essentiel à jouer pour s'assurer que
They have played an essential role in ensuring that we continue together to fight for the right to adequate housing. Our government has an ambitious plan to make housing more affordable, to make it more affordable for everyone in Canada. With our plan, we will attack this problem from every angle. we are investing more and more in programs which are already making a difference through our national housing strategy, a strategy with over 72 million to give more Canadians a place to call home.
Helped house over 1.1 million Canadians since 2015. And that's because we put in place different programs that address the different housing needs of Canadians. This includes more funding for the National Housing Co-Investment Fund and enhancements to the Rental Construction Financing Initiative and the Federal Lands Initiative. These programs to create more housing are working, but we need to free up roadblocks at the municipal level. That's why we will be launching a Housing Supply Accelerator Fund to increase the housing supply in Canada's large and most rapidly growing urban regions. It will include financial incentives for new housing units and measures such as upzoning or inclusionary zoning and transit-oriented development, modernized permitting systems, and a more responsive housing supply to improve housing affordability and accessibility. Next week, I will be co-hosting a National Housing Supply Summit with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to bring together all orders of government and all sectors. Now more than ever before, we need our provincial and municipal partners to work closely with us. I'll also be working to develop a fairness in real estate action plan to ensure that there's more protection and transparency for both home buyers and renters. On the other hand, through Reaching Home, Canada's homelessness strategy, we will continue to support communities across Canada to prevent and reduce and eventually eliminate chronic homelessness. So far, this program has helped thousands of Canadians, and I look forward to sharing an update in the coming weeks. Similarly, through the Rapid Housing Initiative, we will continue to create more urgently needed housing for those who need it the most. This program, Mr. Chair, is very close to my heart. When we launched it a year ago, we now see that we've exceeded our targets and we are on track to create over 10,000 new permanent affordable housing units. And over 40% of these units will support Indigenous families. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples face some of the worst housing conditions in the country. That's why on top of the previous supports in the programs that I've listed so far, we will be working with Indigenous partners to co-develop a northern, urban, and rural Indigenous housing strategy, as was recommended by this committee last year. And Mr. Chair, growing up in social housing myself, I can't overemphasize what having a reliable roof over your head does for people. I saw firsthand, and that is why I couldn't be more committed to this mandate that is ahead of me. And in my role as Minister of Diversity and Inclusion, I know just how important an equitable housing system is to creating communities where everyone feels that they belong. So even as we celebrate Black History Month, recent events have made it clear that the fight against racism requires vigilance, allyship, and a sustained commitment. This government will continue to combat racism and discrimination in all its forms. And I'm sure members are as thrilled as I was 2 weeks ago when we kicked off Black History Month by announcing a carve-out of $50 million through the National Housing Co-Investment Fund to support Black Canadian renters across the country. Before I conclude, I also want to make a brief mention of the Canada Housing Benefit. This benefit is a prime example of why we need all orders of government to work together, as this $4 billion fund, in collaboration with provinces and territories, provides direct rental support payments to Canadians. So the National Housing Strategy is all-encompassing, Mr. Chair, and with many ambitious initiatives to ensure every Canadian has a safe and affordable place to call home. So I turn it back to you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be happy to take any questions from the committee. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister. We will now open the floor to questions, beginning with Mr. Généreux for 6 minutes. Mr. Généreux, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister. Happy Valentine's Day, Minister. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So I only have 6 minutes, as the Chair has indicated, so I want to get through a whole bunch of questions quickly if we could. Minister, it's true that the CMHC is an agency that reports to your department, correct?
Yes.
And approximately how many times since the election have you met with representatives from the CMHC?
We have regular meetings to go over housing policy and to also get updates on various programs like the Rapid Housing Initiative.
Great. So it's also true that CMHC has recently funded a study by a group called Generation Squeeze, correct?
Correct.
And is it true that in this study it indicated one of the best courses of action on housing affordability was to tax Canadians' primary residences more? Correct?
I can talk to you about our government's position on that.
Well, is that correct, Minister? I have follow-up questions to that.
Well, I'm happy to talk about our government's position on this. You know my position on this, both in the House of Commons and outside of the House of Commons. I'm happy to repeat our government's position on this question.
But it's true. Is it also not true that according to page 13 of the Liberal Party of Canada Forward for Everyone document and in your mandate letter, it also states the government will establish a tax on residential properties. So, Minister, this agency reports to your department, and you as minister, this agency developed a report to tax homeowners more. You've met with this agency multiple times. Caucus members, as recently as December 17th, have met with Generation Squeeze. I think it's fair for Canadians to be suspicious of your government's motives as you continue to explore additional taxes on homeowners. This is a slippery slope, Minister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I welcome this opportunity to once again unequivocally state that the Government of Canada is not looking at charging capital gains or any surtaxes on primary residences. This is not under consideration by our government, and any suggestion otherwise is false. We've said this again and again, and I want to assure the honourable member once again that our government is not charging or even thinking or considering charging capital gains taxes on primary residence.
Minister, the evidence is all there. I laid it out for you. They report to you. You've met with them multiple times. Generation Squeeze has met with a member from Beaches East York and the member from Vancouver Granville, again, as early as December 17th. I think it's a fair assessment for Canadians to be suspicious of what the motives of the government is, regardless of how many times you say it. So I want to move on to housing supply, because we know
groups,
that
groups can meet members of parliament. You know that different groups have met you and other members of parliament. It's part of our democratic process. But
when they're about to tax homeowners more, Minister, that's where I think Canadians are suspicious of this government's motives. So, but I do want to talk to you about housing supply, because I know it's something that we both want to talk about. By your own admission, how much housing supply and number of homes has your ministry been responsible for?
We have ensured that we have housed 1.1 million Canadians since the beginning of this government in 2015. We have built over 480,000 units of housing through the various programs of the National Housing Strategy. And through programs like the Canada Housing Benefit, we are also, in addition to building housing and preserving housing stock, we are also making sure that we put in place direct rental supports for those who need it through the Canada Housing Benefit, a program that is working right now in every province and territory to support Canadians.
So, Minister, in question period December 15th, 2021, the Prime Minister had indicated since 2015, our government has supported the creation of nearly 100,000 new units. So let's just go with your 1.1 million and his 100,000. We'll put that aside and we'll go with your number for a second.
I said that we helped 1.1 million Canadian families meet their housing needs. But in terms of the number of units that we've built, it's 480,000.
Okay, so either 480,000 from your number, the Prime Minister from 2015's, from the question period just in December 15th of 2021 is 100,000 units. So let's again go with your number. It's a higher number. It works in your favor slightly more. But Scotiabank has indicated that you need 1.8 million more homes. And right now they say that. So regardless if it's 400,000, if it's 100,000, you're a lot of homes short. So what are you going to do urgently, because this will be extraordinarily difficult to get this many homes built in the timeline that Scotiabank has indicated?
We know that housing supply is one of the tools that we need to make sure that there is more homes available for Canadians, including more affordable housing. And so there's more work to be done. I agree with the honorable member. That's why in our mandate, we will move forward to implement a new housing accelerator fund to help speed up housing projects and put money on the table to enhance the capacity and the ability of municipalities, nonprofits, and others to build more housing, more affordable housing, a more flexible first-time homebuyer incentive, a new rent-to-own program to help renters become homeowners, and measures to prevent rent eviction. So we're doing everything that we can with the National Housing Strategy, but we intend to do more in terms of bringing in this really important and substantial housing accelerator fund, because we know that a lot of the backlogs in terms of building permits and zoning and moving forward with more housing supply faster is at the municipal level. So what are we doing? We're working with municipalities by putting together a housing accelerator fund to enable them to build more housing supply and do it faster by doing things like enabling them to hire more officials and eliminating, as I said, barriers to the development of more housing much, much faster.
Thank you, Minister. Now, for 6 minutes, Mr. Long, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, I just want you to know I'm going to be sharing my time with NP Van Bynen. Minister, it's great to see you. It's always a pleasure to be able to see you. And I want to thank you for coming in today to update the committee on the important work that our government is doing to ensure that every Canadian has access to a safe and affordable place to call home through the commitments outlined in your mandate letter. In June, and obviously I was thrilled to announce this in my beautiful riding of St. John Rothesay, we announced $1.3 million through the National Housing Co-Investment Fund to build the Unified St. John Housing Cooperatives Victoria Street building that includes 14 housing units primarily intended for low-income women, including women and children. This project is truly transformational for the Old North End of St. John and represents a strong vote of confidence on the part of our government in the co-op housing model. Can you explain how our government is building on investments like this to help support co-op housing through our national housing strategy? Thanks, Minister.
Thank you so much. And I remember making that important announcement in your constituency. And
Yep.
Our government is taking concrete actions to protect the most vulnerable Canadians. And I'm proud of the fact that our national housing strategy is doing exactly that. We announced through the national housing strategy a new $4.3 billion Canada Community Housing Initiative that is helping to protect community-based housing for some 330,000 households across the country. And in addition to this, just recently, a few weeks ago, we announced $118.2 million over 7 years through the Federal Community Housing Initiative to support 18,000 units of community housing. This will preserve these units and preserve their affordability and protect the most vulnerable. This is on top of our previous investment of $500 million for the Federal Community Housing Initiative, which will protect tenants and stabilize the operations of some 55,000 affordable housing units in federally administered community housing projects. So I think, the co-op sector and the co-op model has worked really well in all parts of Canada, including in Nova Scotia, where the honorable member made that announcement with me. And, it shows that our national housing strategy is working right across the country from coast to coast to coast. And we're tackling the housing needs of Canadians right across the housing spectrum, from those who are on the street who need a permanent place to call home, to those who need co-op and nonprofit and deeply affordable housing, to building more purposely rental buildings through the rental construction financing initiative, and also enabling more Canadians to access their dream of home ownership through the first-time homebuyer incentive.
Minister, thank you very much. Over to MP Van Bynen. Thank you.
Mr. Van Bynen for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that housing is the foundation to build better lives and to share in the prosperity of our community. And in 2020, our government financed $79 million to help finance the construction of 216 residential units in my riding at Newmarket, Aurora. It's important for our community to see the grassroots implications of these important projects. I thought this was a great approach because it created a business model without either the federal, provincial, or regional or municipal governments needing to provide grants or funding. But it was able to move the project forward by transferring the risk of construction. Can you explain how the funding from rental construction funding initiative is helping more families find a safe and affordable place to call home?
I love this program. The Rental Construction Financing Initiative is really about building the next generation of rental housing in our communities. As we all know, the very people who contribute to making our communities and our urban centers dynamic and contribute to a good quality of life for all of us are increasingly being priced out of the rental market. And they're having to move further and further away from the very places that they work in. And so through the Rental Construction Financing Initiative, we are contributing to the building of 71,000 new rental units across the country, enabling teachers, construction workers, paramedics, firefighters, and others to stay in the places where they work and play. And so, and it's a financing initiative. We get all that money back, but in exchange for that financing, we create rental housing and we create communities, because one of the conditions of the rental construction financing initiative is that folks who apply for that financing have to build in close to transit, close to work, close to school, and community services. So we are building communities, and they also have to abide by our energy efficiency and accessibility guidelines. So we are making a difference. I mean, one of the projects that I was lucky enough to announce before we moved virtually, and I was there in person, is the first purposely built rental building in Coquitlam that has been built, the first one that has been built since 1971. 301 units of affordable rental housing. 100 of those will be deeply affordable, right across from a transit hub, right next to a YMCA. Collaboration between the Government of Canada, the Government of British Columbia, the City of Coquitlam, a nonprofit organization, and a private developer. That's how we build more rental housing in Canada. And I think the Rental Construction Financing Initiative is working really, really well to do that.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Van Bynen, your time is up. And I would just remind you, if you come in again, to unmute your mic. You're speaking to your laptop, and it's causing problems for translation. Now to Madame Chabot for 6 minutes. Madame Chabot.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I give my time to Mr. Denis Trudel, member for Saint-Hubert-Longueuil.
You're on mute. There you are.
Oui, vous m'entendez maintenant?
Can you hear me? Yes? Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank my colleague for giving me her time so that I can ask some questions of the Minister. Hello, Minister. I'm happy to chat with you today. And I say hello to Ms. Bowers and all members today. I'm very happy that we're talking about housing today. I don't have a lot of time, so let me get into it. We have record immigration levels and a housing crisis, so I think we all agree that the housing demand is increasing much faster than supply. There's a lack of housing as well as a substantial lack of social housing. Compared with other G7 countries, and now I'm referencing the Scotiabank study from a few weeks ago. You've surely seen it. The study said that we are last. We're doing the worst of the G7. We need 1.8 million more housing units. So what's the plan? What's the plan to turn things around? What are we doing? How can we increase supply to match demand? Answer. Thank you for your question.
I can tell you that housing supply is something that we're very much seized with. We understand the importance of building more housing supply faster. One of the things that we've noticed, obviously, and it should be clear to all the members, is that we in the federal government have a role, so do the provinces and territories, but we also know and understand the critical role played by municipal authorities in the zoning policies and permitting processes that lead to more housing. And so we have to be there with them to incentivize things like inclusionary zoning, transit-oriented development, and speed up the permitting and zoning process so that we can build more much needed housing supply and do it faster. And we're doing that through the Housing Accelerator Fund, and we intend to work with them. In addition to that, I want to tell the honorable member that the National Housing Strategy programs are trying to address the different housing needs of different Canadians who are in different parts of the housing spectrum. So if you look at what we intend to do, for example, by enabling more federal lands to become available to nonprofits to build more affordable housing, use the Housing Accelerator Fund to offset the cost of land so that municipalities can build more affordable housing, introduce programs like the rent to own program to enable more Canadians to own their first home and enhancing the first time home buyer incentive. We know that there's more work to be done. The National Housing Strategy has achieved a lot of outcomes. We're blowing past our targets. If you look at the Rapid Housing Initiative, for example, we've, for a program that just started recently, we are on track to build 10,250 units. So Housing Accelerator Fund and other ways in which we can move forward will enable us to really address the issue of housing supply, including more affordable housing, of course.
Thank you for your answer. During the last election campaign, your party said that you would create a tax-free savings account for first-time home buyers as well as a non-flipping tax. Also, in C8, you were going to introduce another tax. Experts in the country are saying that there is a true lack of affordable housing. The election promises and C8 promises you made would certainly deal with housing demand, but the issue is with house construction. So what is the plan to build more social housing?
Is to enable us to continue the progress that we've made through the National Housing Strategy. Those programs will continue, and they are delivering more affordable housing. But in addition to that, we recognize that more work needs to be done. So the Housing Accelerator Fund that I just referred to in my previous answer, it's not exclusively for building more affordable housing, it's for building more housing supply, period. But as part of that mix, that Housing Accelerator Fund can and will be used for building more affordable housing by municipalities, for example, by offsetting the cost of land. We also intend to make more federal lands available for the building of more affordable housing. That's another way we're encouraging the building of more affordable housing. The Federal Lands Initiative is a great model. We need to expand it. As I just mentioned, our supports to the co-op sector, that is going to continue. So we know that a lot of work has been done, but more work needs to be done. And I agree with you that we need to build more affordable housing in Canada. And that's exactly what we're doing, including the recently announced results of the Rapid Housing Initiative. 10,250 permanent new affordable housing units through the Rapid Housing Initiative. That's progress. And that's 10,250 people and families who are now off the street and who have a permanent place to call home.
Merci, Monsieur Trudel. Now for 6 minutes to Madame Zarrillo. Madame Zarrillo, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Thank you. And can you just give me a thumbs up you can hear me? Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just going to get right into it because we only have 6 minutes and it's a big topic. I just wanted to start by, Minister, you talked about Coquitlam, and I just need to share with you the behind the scenes of what happened in Coquitlam. So for 8 years, I'm in a microcosm of what's being proposed and some of the things you talked about today. The blame on the municipalities is something that I take a big issue with. So I want to just share with you what happened. So in that development, first of all, it wasn't the first one. There was another development on the corner of Charland and Blue Mountain, which built 40 units of purpose-built rental. And the people that built that unit, or the organization, they were expecting a GST rebate of almost $500,000 because they owned the land. and they used the land to build some purpose-built rental. Well, they didn't get their GST exemption. That was $500,000 that went right onto those rents. So I just want you to know that's not the first one. But second of all, in that community, in that area, it wasn't until the 11th hour that the federal government came forward, and we went through years and years of displacing people in that community from the purpose-built rental units that were in the community. The lowest income people, Syrian refugees came into that space. We lost hundreds of units of affordable housing. And I personally walked into those units, talked to people. So here's some examples. 72-year-old man begging me to find him a long-term care home to go into because he had nowhere to go. A mother with a child, a teenager with a disability that went from $800 a month to $1,200 a month rent. And the problem was the developer came and told them all they needed to get out, even before the zoning came to the city. The third one was a woman my age living on a disability that could not find anywhere to live. She was living in her car with her pet for almost 3 months after she was displaced. I'm telling you that there are people that are being displaced with this market-driven drive to get municipalities to upzone. Our municipality is a microcosm. We built we approved thousands of units of housing, and it pushed people out of the community that couldn't afford to be there anymore. And it pitted neighbor against neighbor because the real estate agents it was like a gold rush of real estate agents knocking on people's door, harassing them. I was sitting in council chambers begging real estate agents to leave people alone, people in their 70s and their 80s who are getting 5-6 door knocks a week asking them to move out of their homes because that land was worth so much. So I want to let you know, in Coquitlam, we did an official community plan change with a bunch of changes allowing for potential upzonings, and it drove up the value of the land to the point where people had to leave. People couldn't be there anymore. And the richest developers and real estate agents took advantage of that. And the same thing is happening now in Coquitlam on the north end. We approved an official community plan. There's an opportunity for a bunch of upzoning. I sat in chambers and asked them, do not touch these areas where low-income seniors are living in these co-ops. And you know what's happening right now, Minister? These real estate investment trusts are going after these pieces of land. They're going to be pushing out more seniors into our community. I'm begging you to understand and listen to what's happening to people on the ground, because I'm very, very concerned that we are going to continue to drive investment vehicles in our housing market rather than get people housed, because the only people that are benefiting from these upzones are the ones that can afford to buy the land and build these massive towers. I was talking to a woman, Minister, right where you were standing, a 65-year-old woman who's still working as an EA in our school district, that said to me, my next home is going to be a tent because the real estate agents are pushing me out of this community. So please understand, I'm so happy that, you know, there's at least finally a federal look at housing, but please understand there are people on the ground hurting from these flat up zones, from this idea that it needs to be through transit. It's not happening the way that we want it to. So I just want to talk a little bit about.
Thank you, Madame Zarilla. I need to get permission from the committee to continue because the bells are ringing. Do we have consent, as we discussed earlier? Okay. The committee will continue. Madame Zarilla, did you want the minister to respond?
I just have one question for him. So I guess my concern is, and I've heard rumblings of it, they have this program for for federal lands to get housing. And I heard some rumblings of it in the last month that the plan is to sell these federal lands to developers. And I just want to ask the minister, or make sure from the minister, that these federal lands will remain in private hands and it will be social housing that would be built, owned by the government on these federal lands.
Mr. Chair, how much time do I have to respond?
1 minute.
So let me make it absolutely clear. Federal lands that are made available to communities are only made available for affordable housing. And they're only made to make sure that the housing that goes on those federal lands will add to our stock, our national numbers of affordable housing units. That's absolute. I can make that absolutely clear. no federal lands will be used to build housing that is not affordable. It will always be on that condition. And anyone who wants to access the federal lands initiative has to abide by those conditions. The second point I wanted to make is something that you spoke about. I, in no way or shape or form, um, uh, implied that there's a problem with municipalities per se. We work very closely with municipalities. In fact, our rapid housing initiative, the reason why we were able to exceed our targets was because of our close collaboration with municipalities and FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. We intend to work with them through the Housing Accelerator Fund because we recognize that projects are taking too long, and the supply of housing needs to come on board faster and in larger quantities. And when I say housing supply, I mean both deeply affordable housing and housing supply for middle-class Canadians.
Thank you, Minister.
It is about incentivizing them to do that.
Thank you, Minister. You probably carry on at another answer. Now for 5 minutes, Mr. Ruff, you have the floor.
Here, Minister, housing inflation's homegrown. Bloomberg reports Canada has the second most inflated housing bubble in the world. In my riding alone of Bruce Grey Owen Sound, houses sold this past month in January for $756,000, an increase of 39.7% from a year ago. And that's despite a median family income of only $61,000. So within your mandate letter, there's a commitment to identifying how federal regulators can, be better positioned to respond to the housing price fluctuations and make it more stable for Canadians. I was a little bit concerned, and I'd like you to clarify in your opening remarks. You talked about the Housing Accelerator Fund being primarily focused for urban areas. For the rest of Canada and those of us that represent rural Canadians, how are you planning to address this fluctuating prices for rural Canadians?
First of all, thank you so much for the question. It's really important to understand that for our national housing strategy programs, both for existing initiatives, but also for any proposed new programs like the Housing Accelerator Fund, we will always take a rural lens, a rural and remote communities lens, to make sure that that their needs are also taken into consideration. In addition to that, when we talk about new programs like the Rent to Own program, that will also, of course, serve rural Canadians who live in rural and remote communities. In addition to that, when we talk about the Federal Lands Initiative, for example, we have a lot of federal land in all parts of the country, not just in urban areas. Obviously, those will also be made available to build more affordable housing.
Yeah, thanks, Minister. I point out in my riding of Bruce Grey Owen Sound, the only federal lands is the military base, the 4th Canadian Division Training Centre, and the Bruce Peninsula National Park. And so I don't think we're building any affordable housing in either location there. My next question, Minister, is another commitment in your mandate letter is ending the chronic homelessness among veterans. Can you provide any data that how you're determining the number of homeless veterans there are, how many to date have been housed, and if the government's looking into partnering with the provinces and projects like what is being undertaken with the Homes for Heroes Foundation in the province of Ontario, where the partnership's building up to 25 tiny homes as part of a veterans village, which is going to help all those military veterans that are suffering homelessness?
No Canadian deserves to be on the street. Any Canadian that finds themselves experiencing homelessness is something that we are all concerned about, particularly those who served us with honor and dedication. I know that there's leadership across the country, including the program that you referred to, but also leadership from municipalities like London, Ontario, that have eliminated chronic homelessness among its veterans population. Through Reaching Home, our federal anti-homelessness program, we are providing direct support to community entities to deal with, to not only provide services to those experiencing homelessness, but also provide temporary, transitional, and permanent affordable housing solutions. So if you look at our spending over the last 2 years, we've actually doubled the support for the fight against chronic homelessness. And in our throne speech and commitments, we have changed our target from reducing homelessness by 50% to a new target of elimination of chronic homelessness from Canada, and we're going to get it done in partnership with our municipalities and provinces and territories in the nonprofit sector.
Thanks, Minister. My final question is going to go into one that I know is going to require collaboration with the provinces and the municipalities, but I think the leadership is required at the federal level. Many ridings across the country, including mine, are facing what we call rent evictions, where due to the low vacancy rate and the demand being so high that tenants are being rent evicted, where the landlords are evicting these low-income housing folks to renovate, and then they can't afford to get back in there. So what steps is the federal government doing to help put either regulation or work collaboratively with the provinces to address this?
You are absolutely right. It is something that we're extremely concerned about. We will take action both as a government, but also in collaboration with provinces and territories and using some of their tools to make sure that we deal with this problem head on. We're looking at a number of options, including using our Canada Revenue Agency tools to examine this issue and looking at the options that we have to tackle this quite concerning issue.
Thank you, Mr. Ruff. Right on time. Now to Mr. Collins for 5 minutes, and we've got lost it. What was the time? About 18 minutes on the bell. So, Mr. Collins for 5 minutes.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and nice to see you, Minister, again. It was nice seeing you in Hamilton a couple of weeks ago. And you were in town to announce 109 units for the city of Hamilton and 2 not-for-profits and I think it was a $25 million investment in affordable housing area for Rapid Housing Initiative. And so we were very appreciative of the funds and your visit. And I just want to speak to the Rapid Housing Program because it has been a tremendous success, as you've highlighted here this morning. I know that as past president of City Housing Hamilton for a number of years, from a municipal perspective and a service provider perspective, Rapid Housing Initiative for us was a terrific program because it was an easy application process. The funds flowed quickly to service providers, and we were able to, within 12 to 14 months, take people off the affordable housing wait list. And so I guess my first question, Mr. Minister, is can you elaborate on the successes of that program, not just in Hamilton, but across the country, and any glimpse at where we're going in terms of further investments with the Rapid Housing Initiative, because it has been a tremendous success, and I know that not-for-profits and municipalities are eagerly awaiting more investments in that area.
Thank you so much for this question, because I believe the Rapid Housing Initiative has been an amazing success. We have demonstrated that a new rapidly implemented housing program can build housing in a matter of months. And the reason we've been able to do that is because of the collaboration, as you said, of municipal governments, but also nonprofits. This is a program that has far exceeded its targets. Its initial target was about building around 7,500 new affordable and permanent housing units. We've far exceeded that, and now we're on track to build 10,250 affordable housing units in record time, between 12 to 18 months. Some of them are even less. I've seen projects that went through the first round that already have people living within it that have been built in 4 to 6 or 8 months. And so Rapid Housing Initiative is an example of what can happen when we work closely with our municipal partners and deliver that money directly to them and allow them to invest in projects as they see fit and trust them to make those decisions. And that's precisely what we've done.
Thank you for that, Minister.
In terms of the future, I hope we can continue this program because it's working really, really well.
Terrific. Good to hear. Coming from the municipal sector, having been a member of City Council in Hamilton for over 25 years, I know that the supply of the housing supply of units, wherever they sit on the housing spectrum, I know that it is largely a provincial and municipal process. And so from the time the application is submitted by the developer to the time that it is approved by the municipality, and then whatever happens after that, should there be an appeal to the provincial level, that is largely a municipal and provincial process. My question would be, I know that you've emphasized today and in the past and in the House about how the federal government then would insert itself into that process in terms of providing assistance. And so we watched recently here in Ontario where the provincial government undertook a task force, or created a task force, and there's 55 recommendations, I believe, right now that speak to ways and means in which to assist municipalities with increasing supply to get us to that point where we can start to see the prices come down and provide units for people who are in the market looking for one. And so I guess I would ask through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Minister, can you elaborate on how you and the Ministry and the government are playing a role in assisting provinces, territories, but in particular municipalities with that process that traditionally has been a provincial municipal one?
Absolutely. That's a really important question. And it highlights the need for collaboration because we know that many, many municipalities want to build more housing and they want to build it faster. But they're encountering obstacles, for example, land. Their fiscal capacity sometimes doesn't allow them to be able to acquire that land and build affordable housing, for example. Other barriers to the faster building of housing include infrastructure upgrades. Things like, for example, needing to expand the local water treatment plant so that you can build another 2,000 units of housing for middle-class Canadians. These are real challenges being experienced by small, medium, and large municipalities. And what we're saying is, as the federal government, if we intend to see more supply in this country, we have to do our part to incentivize them, especially municipalities, to bring in things like inclusionary zoning, bring in things like transit-oriented development, but also help them in terms of their capacity to do more by hiring more, enabling them to hire more zoning officials and permitting officials, but also enable them to help them with the cost of land so that they can build more housing. So all of those things are on the table. And this Housing Accelerator Fund will go a long way to enable municipalities to build more housing supply faster.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Collins. I'm going to get direction from the committee. We are now down to the last 13 minutes with the bells. I would suggest we suspend for 10 minutes. But, Minister, we would resume with the final 2.5-minute round to Madame Chabot, to Madame Zerillo, Monsieur Genereux, and then Madame Ferrada. That would complete the first hour with Minister Hussen. So we will suspend for 10 minutes and then resume for roughly 10 minutes to conclude.
Chair,
Thank you.
Chair, my point is suspend for 10 minutes. The voting doesn't kick off for about another 12, and then it will take a while to suspend. To conduct the voting.
Yeah.
Is the proposal that once we've got confirmation all members of the committee have voted, that we, including the minister, we can then reconvene?
Correct. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ruff, for clarifying. I just assumed that we could, so the remote app's not open yet. Yeah, okay. You've heard Mr. Ruff. It is agreeable. Once everybody has voted virtually, we will resume the meeting for the final 10 minutes. Is that okay, Minister? Or...
Yes.
Yes, okay. Committee members? So that's the routine. Thank you, Mr. Ruff. We will follow with Madame Chabot, Madame Zerillo, Mr. Genereux, and Madame Ferrada when we resume. Merci beaucoup. Suspend. Meeting and conclude with Minister Hussein. Minister Hussein. And at this time, Madame Shabat, you have the floor for 2.5 minutes. And so to be clear, we're going to have 4 2.5-minute rounds. Madame Shabat, Madame Zarillo, Mr. Genereux, and Madame Ferrada to conclude the first hour. Madame Shabat, you have the floor.
Monsieur le ministre, bonjour. Un plaisir.
Hello, Minister. It's great to have you here today. My questions will be about the same topics that we've been discussing. We are very concerned in Quebec, and I imagine it's the same everywhere, about the social and community housing crisis. In your programs, there are many references to affordable housing. But what is the real definition? For example, at some point it was said that $2,200 a month is affordable for a cost of living in Montreal. I don't feel that the private market is very interested in costs. So what is your plan specifically for community and social housing? Answer. Thank you for your question.
I want to start off by talking about our government's efforts. Depuis 2015,
Since 2015, we have invested over $4.5 billion in housing in Quebec in order to build or repair several hundred thousand houses. And we announced a bilateral agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of Quebec. This agreement will lead to a co-investment of $3.7 billion additional dollars over 10 years. This co-investment will improve housing conditions in Quebec for those who most need it. This is part of our ongoing commitment to end chronic homelessness. For that, we have invested substantially in Quebec through the Reaching Home program. We have been investing since the beginning of the pandemic. We're investing to create permanent housing quickly for the most vulnerable people. We also have the Rapid Housing Initiative. With the Rapid Housing Initiative, we have partnered with the Government of Quebec to invest $179.8 million in so many projects, which will lead to 1,400 approximately new units in the province. Thank you, Madame Chabot.
Your 2.5 minutes concluded. Madame Zerillo for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I got an echo. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to reiterate my call to the minister to protect the most vulnerable in this race for supply. And I would mention that sometimes the applications are very, very complex, which adds to the time that it takes. So just to keep that in mind. The minister mentioned infrastructure is needed to get housing built, and that is certainly true for Indigenous housing. And in my riding, there is an impasse right now to get sewer and water to an Indigenous project. I just wanted to ask if I know in BC we have a willing partner in the provincial government, and I'm wondering for Indigenous housing, they are saying that they need a federal partner in building the infrastructure. What is the federal government committing to on the front for infrastructure so that housing can be built on top of that for Indigenous housing?
I have no doubt that the government of British Columbia has been a really strong partner to our government when it comes to being ambitious in the area of affordable housing. No relationship is more important to our government than the one with Indigenous peoples, including those who live in urban areas. And so we're very committed, fully committed to working with Indigenous peoples to co-develop an urban, rural, and northern Indigenous housing strategy, following the 4 Indigenous by Indigenous principle. That work is already underway. Like, for example, in the Rapid Housing Initiative, almost 40% of the units created in the Rapid Housing Initiative will target support for Indigenous peoples, including those living in urban areas. $638 million has already specifically been allocated to housing that benefits Indigenous peoples living in urban, rural, and northern communities. When it comes to the infrastructure piece, I've had conversations with my colleague, the Honorable Dominic LeBlanc, and he completely supports our approach to make sure that our infrastructure investments, including investing in transit and our transfers to provinces, also leverage housing and ensure that there's more affordable housing that comes out of those investments. And that also means also through the Municipal Housing Accelerator Fund to enable municipalities to offset some of the costs that will inevitably arise when you increase housing supply. And those costs are mainly in infrastructure.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Madame Zerillo. Now to Mr. Genereux for 2.5 minutes. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, are you aware of the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Centre of Canada, FINTRAC, and their role?
Yes, I am.
And so for those following along online, I'll just quickly read that its mandate is to facilitate the detection, prevention, and deterrence of money laundering and the financing of terrorist activities while ensuring the protection of personal information under its control. So, Minister, are you aware of how many real estate audits and watchdog they conducted in 2019 and 2020 and 2020-2021 year?
I would turn to the president and CEO of CMHC to be able to answer that detailed question.
Get it quickly. I actually have them, so why don't I answer it for you, Minister? In 2019-2020, 149 audits were conducted. In 2020-2021, only 53 audits were conducted. That's a 64% decrease in real estate audits conducted by the anti-money laundering watchdog. The same watchdog was on high alert during the pandemic, and they realized a notice. So starting with more dirty money being used to purchase homes, driving up home prices across the country, why does the number of real estate audits keep decreasing year after year?
I'll turn to Madame Bowers to answer that question.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Mr. Chair. We at CMHC, we are concerned about about incidences of money laundering in Canada, and through our research activities, we try to support institutions like FINTRAC in combating money laundering in Canada, and we're willing to do whatever we can to support the federal government's efforts to ensure that Canada has a stable and transparent housing system.
With the increase in foreign buyers and the initiative of the minister in your mandate letter, you think this would be something that we see? We don't see this continued decrease. Last question to you, Minister, and I have to applaud you for taking the time here today to join us. It's nice to be able to get some questions and for you to be able to answer them directly. The last question I have. In your mandate letter, it states enhancements to the Federal Lands Initiative. Now, the Federal Lands Initiative enables the transfer of surplus federal lands and buildings. Currently, though, no properties are available under the Federal Lands Initiatives. How many new housing units have been created through the Federal Lands Initiative since its launch in 2018?
So what we intend to do with a program that has a lot of potential, because we know that there's a lot of federal lands from coast to coast to coast, and we intend to enhance that program so that more federal lands can be made available to those who are willing to build affordable housing and guarantee affordability over a long period of time. So that is something that we're fully committed to doing, and we will be moving forward on that, absolutely.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Mr. Genereux. For 2.5 minutes, Madame Ferrara, you have the floor.
Oui, merci au ministre.
Thank you, Minister, for joining us today. Quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to try to ask 2 questions in one. Our government's approach to housing is based on rights. In our public policy, we have worked to protect this right to housing for the most vulnerable Canadians. We've just spoken about the advocate for housing rights, maybe advocacy for housing rights. Maybe you could speak to that. Also, what's going on right now for women experiencing domestic violence is an important issue. Could you speak to initiatives that specifically work to address domestic violence in order to protect people who need protection? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you for this question.
Important to highlight how our government has really moved forward on entrenching housing as a human right. We've moved forward with the appointment of a national housing advocate. It is a key commitment that we delivered in under 100 days, as we promised in our election platform. In addition to that, if you look at the Rapid Housing Initiative, the National Housing Strategy, the National Housing Co-Investment Fund, and many other programs, the priority populations mentioned there include women and at risk and women and children fleeing gender-based violence. Look at the outcomes of the Rapid Housing Initiative. A lot of those permanent, new, affordable housing units are going to be provided to women and children fleeing gender-based violence. In addition to that, the Canada Housing Benefit is a game changer. It is allowing many women at risk and women and children fleeing gender-based violence to be able to pay their rent and access independent housing in an environment in which they're in a vulnerable state. And so we're coming through with that Canada Housing Benefit, which is now, by the way, operational in every province and territory. And then through other programs, for example, the supports that we're providing to the nonprofit and co-op sector, most recently with a new top-up announcement funding of $118 million, we're ensuring that women and children are protected in those co-op units where they receive much needed subsidies, and we're protecting those subsidies, we're protecting those units, and we're ensuring that those women have a safe and affordable place to call home. We will continue those outcomes. One of the things that we've done also in Budget 2021 is bring future money forward through the National Housing Co-Investment Fund and dedicate that to providing both supportive services, transitional housing, and permanent housing for women and children fleeing domestic violence. And last but not least, we're also committed to topping up the Canada Housing Benefit by an additional amount of over $300 million. And that money will be exclusively dedicated to funding rental supports directly to women and children fleeing gender-based violence.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Madame Ferrada. That concludes the questioning with the first hour of the meeting. I want to thank you, Minister Hussen, and the witnesses for appearing before a committee this morning to answer questions. Thank you so much. We will suspend briefly while we reposition to the last hour. Again, thank you, Minister and witnesses. Welcome back. The committee will proceed with its briefing on the ministerial mandate letters. I would like to make a few comments for the benefit of the witnesses. I am getting an echo as well. You may speak in the official language of your choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen, either floor, English, or French. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you're not speaking, your mic should be on mute. I would like to welcome our following witnesses, Honorable Karina Kara, Minister for Seniors, Alexis Conrad, Senior Assistant Deputy Minister, Cliff Groen, Senior Assistant Deputy Minister, Laurie McDonald, Senior Associate Deputy Minister, Annette Gibbons, Associate Deputy Minister. We'll start with Minister Kara for 5 minutes, please. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to join you today. I will start my time. As this is my first time joining you as a Minister of Seniors, I just want to take an opportunity to thank you all for the work that you do as committee members, and I truly look forward to working with all of you in advancing the priorities set out in my mandate letter. As you have already mentioned, Mr. Chair, I'm delighted to be joined by our senior officials today who will be supporting me. Truly, these are some of the finest public servants and colleagues. I want to thank them for all that they and their teams do across Canada as well. Chair, our government has been working hard on many fronts to respond to the needs of seniors both before and during the pandemic. We need to think about seniors' health, social well-being, and financial security. We have made significant progress, but there is more hard work ahead of us. We all know just how challenging this pandemic has been for seniors, from social isolation to higher costs to stay home and safe, or the challenges in the long-term care homes. Seniors have been impacted the most by this pandemic, and we must support them now and into the future. I'm here today to speak to you about the priorities as outlined in my mandate letter. The overarching goal is to work with colleagues and stakeholders to help protect the physical, mental, and financial health of seniors. My work will be informed through engagement with seniors themselves, parliamentarians who represent seniors across this country, stakeholders, advice from the National Seniors Council, and of course, collaboration with our provincial and territorial counterparts. Furthermore, I'll be working closely with the Minister of Health in a concerted effort to improve the quality and availability of long-term care, to take concrete actions to support seniors who want to age at home. With my colleague, Minister Duclos, the Minister of Health, I will be establishing an expert panel to provide recommendations for creating an aging at home benefit. Additionally, as part of the efforts to support seniors age at home, our government will be helping senior serving organizations who have the local knowledge to offer practical support to low-income, otherwise vulnerable seniors in order to better age at home. As I've said, Mr. Chair, the pandemic has exposed many systemic problems with long-term care homes that have proven tragic for thousands of seniors and their families. As you may know, Mr. Speaker, much of my work is informed by my own experience as a nurse, working directly with seniors, and I'll be happy to share more on that later. Working with provinces and territories to fix these problems is something we need to get done and get done quickly. We want to improve the quality and availability of long-term care homes and beds and improve infection, prevention, and control measures. We welcome the news that the Health Standards Organization and Canadian Standards Association has released draft national standards for long-term care for consultation, and that the final standards will be available to use later this year. This is an important work to improve care for seniors that will set the bar higher for safe and respectful care in these facilities, and we look forward to working with provinces and territories on that lasting change. We're also deeply concerned about the safety of seniors. I will be continuing to work with the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to strengthen Canada's approach to elder abuse. After years of hard work and contributing to Canada, seniors deserve to age with dignity and the best health possible and with social and economic security. Mr. Chair, one of the biggest priorities for me is to strengthen financial security for seniors, and I'm proud of the work that we've done till now. restoring the age of eligibility of OAS pension and GIS to 65 from 67, increasing the GIS for the lowest income single seniors, enhancing the GIS earnings exemption, providing a one-time tax-free payment to help seniors with the extra costs during this pandemic, and of course, moving forward with our plan to boost the OAS pension by 10% this summer for seniors 75 and older. A big priority for me in this mandate is to increase the guaranteed income supplement by $500 for single seniors and $750 for couples starting at the age of 65. Mr. Chair, as we know, some seniors received pandemic benefits in 2020 and had their GIS impacted. To fully compensate those seniors, we will be providing up to $742.4 million for one-time payments to reimburse those GIS benefits reductions. Last week, we also introduced and tabled important legislation, Bill C-12, to permanently exempt federal pandemic benefits from the calculation of GIS or allowance benefits in future years. This exemption would begin in July 2022. The legislation needs to be passed by Parliament quickly in order to ensure that there's enough time to implement changes to IT systems to ensure that there is no disruptions on the ongoing delivery of OAS benefits to seniors. Colleagues, we must ensure seniors' safety, security, and dignity. That's our focus and that's our goal, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Minister. For the first round of questioning, we go to Madame Kusi. Madame Kusi, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Minister, for being here today. It's greatly appreciated. You mentioned that one of your priorities is to strengthen financial security for seniors. Certainly, the government, with our help, the official opposition, did provide a number of benefits to Canadians, including seniors, throughout the pandemic. And of course, that included the Canada Emergency Response Benefit as well as the Canada Recovery Benefit. Unfortunately, what followed is that 90,000 low-income seniors, those who are the most vulnerable in our society, found out that their guaranteed income supplement payments would actually be clawed back upon as a result of the government's mismanagement in implementing these benefits throughout the pandemic. So you just mentioned here, and it was announced in December of 2021, that you would give up to $742.4 million for a one-time payment of the guaranteed income supplement. So the question I have for you today, Minister, is on what date will these seniors receive this money?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Ms. Kusi for that very important question. Mr. Chair, when the pandemic first hit almost 2 years ago, our government moved very quickly to provide support to Canadians, whether it is through the CERB support.
Hey, Minister, please. There are seniors who can't eat right now. There are seniors who can't heat their homes. What date, Minister, can these seniors expect the money with their GIS, please?
Mr. Chair, as I was just stating, we moved very quickly to provide these very important measures to put in place so that seniors, particularly those most vulnerable seniors, have roof over their head, put money and food on the table. We all know, Mr. Chair, that some working seniors were part of a group that relied on these pandemic benefits.
Thank you, Minister. And they're waiting for those funds right now for those exact things you listed. So please, you brought C-12 up in the House on Friday. I'm looking for it to be rescheduled as soon as possible so these seniors can get their money. Now, how much will this one-time payment be? You mentioned the global amount of $742.4 million, but can you guarantee today all of these seniors will receive every single penny that was taken from them in your government's clawback of the GIS? Can you guarantee that they will get every single penny of that money back, which through your error they thought they had but found out they were not entitled to? Can you guarantee they will get all of that money back, please, Minister?
Mr. Chair, if the honourable member will allow me, I will walk her through exactly the ways that we're going to address this issue. As I was stating, we moved very quickly to provide this support to seniors, particularly, actually, indeed, all Canadians. But we know these programs were meant to ensure that people can stay at home. We know that some working seniors were part of a group that relied on these benefits to help them get through this crisis. And as a result, Mr. Chair, having received these benefits in 2020, 2020, when we were all navigating this unprecedented crisis, some seniors unfortunately saw their GIS and allowance affected in 2021. I make mention of this because this particular is something that we moved very quickly on. Indeed, on the very first
Thank you,
day,
Minister. Not quickly enough, unfortunately, as they're still waiting for it. Can then you guarantee today, Minister, that these funds that they will receive, this large amount that you have promised, they will not be taxed on again after having received it? Because you've made this error previously, your government. You gave them the money, you clawed back the money with the GIS. You said now we're going to give it back. Are you going to tax them on this money again, please, Minister?
Mr. Chair, if the honourable member will allow me, I will tell her that this commitment is underway in 2 steps. The first and foremost, we are fulfilling this commitment as soon as possible with the support from all my colleagues in this House. As the honourable members knows, we announced in the economic and fiscal update that we will be delivering a one-time payment to GIS and alliance benefits who received CERB or CERB in 2020 and saw a reduction. This is going to be an automatic one-time payment. It is going to support seniors by fully compensating them for the full loss of their GIS and alliance.
Thank you, Minister. You have mentioned that. You know, I'm not alone in my concern. I actually have here in front of me, you mentioned the Finance Minister, a letter from the Advocacy Center for the Elderly, as well as the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Clearly, what is your point of order?
Mr. Chair, I could recite Standing Order 16.2 around decorum, but frankly, I should hope that I wouldn't have to. The questioning is very rude, and the minister is not receiving the opportunity to respond.
Mr. Bynon, that is not a point of order. We'll resume to the questioning. Conclude, Madame Kuzi.
Thank you, Chair, for your excellent leadership in this committee here. So as I said, Minister, I do have a letter here from the Advocacy Center for the Elderly, which is addressed specifically to yourself as well as the Finance Minister that you just made mention of, with whom you said you are working on to resolve this problem, which is causing seniors significant duress. Okay, we've recognized today we don't know when they're going to get the money. We recognize we're not sure if this money is not going to be taxed back. Can you assure me, Minister, as well as all of not only those 90,000 seniors that are suffering, hungry, cold in their homes right now, but all seniors across Canada, that you will work to ensure that this type of error never happens again, Minister? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, allow me to continue and certainly confirm to the honourable member, first and foremost, we moved very quickly with our officials and the Minister of Finance to put forward in the financial and economic update to fully compensate these seniors who are affected. This work is already underway. This is going to be a one-time automatic payment to fully compensate these fully compensate these seniors who lost their GIS in 2020. Second, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, to ensure that this doesn't happen again and to fulfill this commitment in my mandate letter, we actually introduced Bill C-12 that is going to do precisely that. It is going to amend the Old Age Security Act to exclude any income received under the CERB for the purposes of calculating the amount of GIS and allowance payable. It is a very simple bill. It is a quick but a very significant amendment to the OAS Act to ensure that seniors, particularly those most vulnerable, are not impacted by this this year for the benefits that they took last year. And I've had conversations with indeed all parties about this, with my critics on this, and I really hope that we can all agree and move quickly on this to make sure that this we put this in to ensure that those most vulnerable seniors have the supports that they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Kuzi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. Mr. Van Byn looks warm and fed. So you threw me off there. For the next 6 minutes, Monsieur Coteau.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being with us today. We do appreciate it. I got to sit in the Ontario Legislature for the last decade, and over the last few years, really watching what was taking place with seniors in this province and in this country. And I often think back, and I remember back with the previous Conservative government when they raised the, I think it was old age security from 65 to 67. And I often think, how it would have impacted about 100,000 seniors and kept them in poverty. I often think about the government that's here today, your government, our government, and the values that they brought forward during the pandemic. And I think it's really Canadian values to see, that adjustment from 67 to 60, bringing it back to 65, and then putting in place many different programs during the pandemic, which is, perhaps the most challenging time this country's ever gone through since World War II. To put in place programs to help seniors who are struggling. In my community in Don Valley East, seniors come in all the time and they're struggling, but to have a pandemic hit changed everything. So I just want to say that it's nice to have a government that's reflective of Canadian values, and the fact that, I think it was 80 or 90% of the money that went to support Canadians during this pandemic came from the federal government directly. So I just wanted to ask you, we're here now, 2 years later, and there's been a lot of challenges. What have been the impact of some of these programs when it comes to seniors, not only from an individual perspective, but also from a community-based organizations, working with municipal governments, other levels of governments? What have you seen really work well over the last 2 years when it comes to the programs coming from your ministry?
Thank you for that very important question. And certainly I will say, I think our priority from the very beginning, since 2015, has been there to support those most vulnerable. And I am proud to be part of a government that, one of the very first things that we did was, cut taxes for middle class families and raise them for the top wealthiest 1%. We introduced measures, as restoring the age of eligibility back to 65 from 67 under the Harper years, where we are able to make sure, especially for old age security and the guaranteed income supplement, we also put forward and enhanced the guaranteed income supplement that has actually helped 900,000 low-income single seniors. It has actually, certainly helped out 45,000 low-income seniors come out of poverty because of the measures that we put in place. When you talk about this pandemic, and certainly I think if you think of one particular demographic that has certainly been hit the most, it is our seniors. It is the most vulnerable seniors. And, as complement to directly supporting their health and financial health, we were also able to provide other funding as a result of delivering services and supports directly to them. Using the power of organizations on the ground in communities to add, our own capacity as a government ensures that local knowledge and skills were harnessed. I am very proud of every volunteer organization and company that has stepped up during this pandemic to support those seniors. As you know, the services that help seniors in their day-to-day lives can help save that extra cost, the stress that can affect them through their health, and if they can, especially if they had to manage it alone, you can only imagine. So to help seniors, and others get essential services and supplies, we invested over $500 million. There was an additional $20 million for New Horizons for Seniors programs, community-based projects, the $350 million in charities and non-for-profit, the $9 million in United Way Canada, the $100 million in food banks and local food organization, and of course millions into the previously funded New Horizons for Seniors program, which was modified to meet so we could pivot quickly to address the needs of those specific.
Minister, can I jump in for the last? I think we've got a minute and a half left. Do you mind if I just interrupt? I know you've been interrupted a lot today, but. If I could just interrupt one more time and ask you about an issue that's really, really serious to me, and I think all members of this committee. The issue of elder abuse. During the pandemic, there's been obviously a lot more isolation. Was there can you share any insight in regards to elder abuse during the pandemic, and what the ministry and partners have done to help mitigate the growth I could imagine during that time period?
Absolutely. Thank you for raising that extremely important question. Seniors abuse in all its form is extremely unacceptable, and it's an issue that, from the very beginning, our government takes extremely seriously. We're working on initiatives, to combat seniors abuse, including strengthening the law, creating national definition, collecting more data, and cracking down on seniors fraud. The work has already been underway on this issue by we're funding projects, as I mentioned, through New Horizons for Seniors program to help raise awareness around seniors abuse and fraud. We've also invested $29.5 million for the digital literacy program to help seniors develop their online skills and educating them on fraud protection. Of course, the work is also underway with National Seniors Council that examines these issues. This is something that we take extremely seriously to make sure that seniors are protected in their own homes, online, and of course in public. Thank you.
Thank you, Monsieur Coteau. Now for 6 minutes, Madame de Belfoy.
C'est bien, Monsieur le Président. Thank you very much, Chair. My name is pronounced de Bellefeuille.
Nous.
Thank you for joining us, Minister. I listened to your speech very carefully. Your speech, though, was only in English, and I was a bit surprised because I thought that ministers had the obligation to make their speeches in both official languages. But I might be mistaken. Maybe it's more of a formality than an official rule. You mentioned that you were a nurse. I am a social worker. My license is still active in Quebec, and throughout my career, I worked with seniors, senior support in home and in long-term care homes. The national standards that you're working on are not going to change a thing for the quality of services offered to seniors in Quebec. What really would change and improve things is increased federal health transfers. This is what the Premier of Quebec wants, and all other premiers want the same thing. I am very convinced that you're going down the wrong paths, but I'm not going to spend my time debating with you about that. I'd like to talk about vulnerable seniors, rather. Minister, could you please provide precise, clear answers so that I don't have to interrupt you many times while you're speaking? As you know, 183,000 seniors had their GIS cut because of CERB. You said that people would have one-time payment in May. Can you explain very clearly, very simply, why this is going to occur in May, the one-time payment? What are the reasons for this? Could you please explain?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And allow me to just take a moment to also thank you as a healthcare worker for the work that you've done in your own community and that you continue to do. Mr. Chair, and to my honorable colleague, when the pandemic first hit, as I mentioned two years ago, we moved, as the honorable member knows, very quickly to provide that support to whether it's workers, to seniors, to students.
Madame la Ministre, Minister, I'm sorry for interrupting you. It's not really my style to be interrupting ministers, but I did ask you a rather simple question. Can you please explain why this one-time payment cannot be made sooner than May? Please tell me the reason. There is a reason. I know the answer, but I'd like to hear you say the answer. Can you please explain why you can't make the payment sooner?
Thank you, Chair. And let me just say, when I first was appointed to this role, this was the very first thing that we worked extremely closely with our officials, looked at all options possible, worked with the Minister of Finance, and quickly put in a major investment in the financial and economic update to fully compensate these low-income seniors who were affected. And the work is already underway. This is going to be an automatic one-time payment, which will support affected seniors by fully compensating them for their full loss of their GIS. And of course, there are challenges.
Madame la Ministre,
Minister,
I apologize. Truly, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to answer my own question. I feel that the payment can't be made sooner because of IT bugs. This has already been said in other committees. The Minister of Finance said it. The IT system doesn't make it possible for the payment to be made earlier. Can you please confirm that this one-time payment cannot be made earlier? This payment for seniors who are having trouble paying for groceries, rent, medication because of the online system. Can you confirm this? Yes or no?
Look, what I will tell the honorable member is that I completely agree with the honorable member that we need to move quickly on this. This is a priority for me. And we are doing everything that we can to get it as soon as possible. But I will turn to my senior officials to give you the challenges that do exist and the work that we are doing to make sure we can get it out as soon as quickly.
Cliff, do you want to take this?
Oui, merci beaucoup et merci pour la question.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. In order to make this payment as quickly as possible, well, we have determined that the earliest we could possibly make this payment is in the month of May. But we are working on this to see if it might be possible to send this payment out earlier. Yes, there are technical challenges with OAS. Our computer system is rather old. Yes, okay, thank you for your answer. But based on my understanding, there's a major problem in government right now. We can't be reforming, for example, the EI Act and other acts because of computer systems. We can't expedite bringing foreign workers because there are computer system issues with immigration systems. And now you're telling me that vulnerable seniors who had their payments cut unfairly, they can't get their payment earlier because the computer system is too ancient. You know, as a social worker and MP, I have to say that this is totally unacceptable. All Canadians who needed it received CERB payments within 10 days. 10 days, yet we can't send $3,500 to seniors who really need it earlier than May.
A short answer. Who's going to take the question?
I'm just...
Okay.
Mr. Groen?
Madame Ministre, okay, je vais aller de l'avant.
I will take this question. Yes, we were able to send CERB payments out very quickly. Emergency payments were made quickly, and other emergency benefit programs. The one-time payment is very important to us. We're working to do our best. Thank you, Madame de Bellefeuille.
Next, Madame Zarello for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's been an interesting but sad committee meeting today. What we're seeing is the cracks of our social safety net that have really come to light here, and you know, a lack of planning from government year after year, decade after decade. And I guess if we think about the answers we just got right now around the antiquated technical infrastructure, earlier we saw about the lack of investment and foresight in social housing, and now we're looking at really catastrophic outcomes for the senior population. And I wanted to speak specifically to the minister about what is not in the mandate letter, which is a plan for seniors, a national strategy for seniors. This is something that the NDP has wanted for a long time. I think today has just shown how much we must invest in good planning so that we can protect the most vulnerable when a crisis happens nationally. You know, specifically elder abuse was talked about today, food insecurity, mental health and loneliness for our seniors. So I wanted to ask the minister about a national plan. There's lots of piecemeal that we've heard about today, but what about the national strategy for seniors? Where is that at? And can we expect to see it very soon?
Thank you for that very important question. Look, I know this is certainly a topic that this committee has also previously looked at. It is something that I am taking advice in order to make sure that we are dedicating our resources towards the best results for seniors who need our help the most vulnerable. The strategy would possibly bring together a range of work that we are already doing for seniors, and we're happy to consider that in due time as we continue to deal certainly with the pressing concerns that our seniors are facing during this pandemic. As the honorable member may know, we have made significant investments in areas of income security, on housing, on accessibility, and on caregiving. And this is building on that work that we've also asked the National Seniors Council to provide advice on whether a national seniors strategy would help actually be useful in strengthening our government's attentions to seniors' well-being. We're going to continue to look at that work and work hard with seniors and indeed all members in this committee and all stakeholders to ensure that seniors have a safe and dignified and secure future.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do I still have the floor?
Yes, you have actually 3+ more minutes. 3 minutes and a few seconds.
Thank you. And I wanted to follow up just on the GIS piece. So I look forward to seeing a national senior strategy soon, but I want to follow up on the GIS because this is really the most pressing for many, many seniors in our country that are now at the point where they are being left out in the cold. I want to talk specifically about how quickly that money can get on the ground. So what could other MPs, other parties, could we do collectively over the next couple of weeks to get those those payments out to seniors before May, June timeline? What can we do together collaboratively to get those payments out ASAP?
Thank you for that question. There's a few things. First, I want to assure the honorable member that we left no stone unturned to support these most vulnerable seniors. We worked extremely quickly with our officials and the Minister of Finance, looked at all options available to find a solution. And as you know, in the fall and economic update, we made a major investments to fully compensate these seniors who are affected. Of course, that work is underway. This automatic one-time payment will support those seniors by fully compensating them for the full loss of their GIS. And of course, I agree that we need to get the money out as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what we're doing. And that's exactly what our officials are looking at. And I'll certainly turn to Cliff to provide even more clarity on that. But what I will say is that, the honorable member talked about what we can do. And that is precisely why we introduced Bill C-12. It is going to ensure that we prevent this from happening again, giving those vulnerable seniors the security that their GIS won't be impacted because of the pandemic benefits that they took last year. And I really hope that we can, certainly work alongside all parties. And I have been forthcoming and have had engaged with every party, and certainly my seniors critic, offered them briefings on making sure that we can move quickly on this because it is urgent. C-12 is a simple, quick fix to get this done, and I really hope the honorable members and indeed all parties will do just that. But I will turn to Cliff to perhaps provide more clarity on the one-time payment.
Thank you very much. And just to add, the challenge that we are encountering with the delivery of the one-time payment, some of it definitely has to do with the technology challenges that we have. And there is a plan related to replacing the technology upon which the delivery of the old age security program is delivered. There's an initiative called Benefits Delivery Modernization, which will be replacing the technical platform moving forward. So that's a key investment that's been made, and a project is underway in that regard. Another part of the existing challenge we have related to the timing is that it coincides with the tax season. We are in the midst of issuing 12 million tax slips, which is a part of our obligation in delivering the program. And that also coincides with the renewal period for GIS and us working directly with the Canada Revenue Agency. We are doing absolutely everything we can to advance this payment as quickly as possible, and it remains a very, very much a high priority for us to be able to deliver it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groen, and thank you, Madame Zarrillo. Now I need direction from the committee. I'm in the hands of the committee. We are at past 1, but as you're aware, we agreed to suspend for a while. So Do you want to, do I have a consensus for the committee to proceed? And Madame Kara, are you available for a while?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So then if the committee, the next up is Mr. Benson, and then the 5-minute rounds, and then if it's agreeable, we would conclude with the 2.5-minute rounds for Madame Chabot and Madame Zarrillo. That gives everybody. Do I see consensus on that?
That's great. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, good then. So it'll be Mr.
Yeah, thank you,
Benson,
Minister. Yeah.
Madame Ferrata, Madame Chabot, and Madame Zarrillo. So thank you, Minister. Thank you, committee members. Mr. Benson, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Minister Kara, for being here today. I think this Age Well at Home initiative has an opportunity to be a really, really good initiative. And so I'd like to ask a couple of questions about it. It says here that you made a decision to use volunteers. So I'd like to sort of understand why you decided to use volunteers. And also with, you know, right now we're having labor shortages. We have increases in a number of seniors. Seniors are living longer. Are we going to have enough volunteers in the end to make this program successful?
Thank you. Thank you for that very important question, Mr. Benson. Allow me to just talk a little bit about why it is a priority for this government to make sure that we can get, as we've known, you know, seniors and older Canadians want to live in their own homes independently as much as they want, right? And this pandemic has certainly highlighted that Canadians desire to age in their own communities and as long as possible. Sadly, we know many vulnerable seniors do not have all the supports to do just that, to live independently on their own communities. And we've done a number of measures in the past as well. And I will, you know, take you back to certainly 2016 when our government put in a major investment, billions of dollars into home care in a health accord with provinces and territories to do just that. I will also then, of course, as you alluded to, the Age Well at Home program, which is a $90 million over 3 years, which was put in the last budget to do that important work. And this initiative will provide funding opportunities for senior serving organization to offer practical support. So whether, you know, you could think such as, providing that support with meals, with housekeeping, the yard work, or, you know, any of the work that those seniors serving organizations can provide on the ground to those vulnerable seniors in their own communities. Funding would also be available certainly for regional and national projects to expand services that have already shown results that we know that have shown results in helping seniors age in their own communities. So this is going to mobilize those senior serving organizations, recognize the important work that they do. But I will turn to Annette perhaps to provide a little bit more depth into this program.
Sure.
Well, I guess I was just really concerned about will you have enough volunteers? I mean, you know, people are looking to hire people and they can't get people to come work. So I'm not sure that you're going to have enough volunteers, but I'd like to sort of address another issue. It's great that people are going to get help at home, you know, to cut their lawn and to get groceries and something like that. But I think the major thing about living at home and aging at home, and maybe this is going to come under the aging at home benefit, like you could talk about, is medical costs. It's very expensive to have seniors in the hospital. It's very expensive to get seniors to the hospital and ambulances and all that kind of stuff. So, and we don't really want seniors in the hospital, you know, in terms of, you know, people sort of, you know, get well better at home. So there's a need to have them at home. How are you going to, you know, get the medical part of this covered into that? And, you know, maybe working with our health minister to keep our costs down, but also have people at home longer and deal with the medical issues that they're going to face.
Oh, thank you for that. And just as you know, the delivery of healthcare, there are jurisdictions that's under the provincial government, and that is why, you know, we in 2016 gave billions of dollars in home care to provinces and territories to do that work because it does fall under their jurisdiction. But I think the Age Well at Home program is designed to find those gaps. the ones that provinces and territories perhaps to fill those gaps, because we don't want to duplicate the work that is already being done. And certainly, and I will turn to Annette, because this is something that she is very well versed in, perhaps to give him a little bit more depth. But I will say, and it is part of my mandate letter too, and of course the work that I will do with the Minister of Health in establishing certainly an expert panel to provide recommendations on establishing an aging at home benefit. And of course this work I will be doing with the Minister of Health, and we'll have due course have more to say in the near future. But Annette, if you want to talk a little bit about Age Well at Home, please.
Sure.
A short response.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's a little bit of an echo there. There is home care delivered by the provinces, and federal funding supports for that as well. And so that's very clearly in the medical space. The Age Well at Home is intended to move into that space of more practical supports that are non-medical. So it's a very deliberate, to be complementary to what is happening at the provincial level, because there isn't as much of that at the provincial and municipal level. With respect to your question about volunteers, I think the reality is that an awful lot of organizations, not-for-profits that are active in supporting seniors, are very strongly volunteer-based. Of course, they have paid staff who lead the organization, but a lot of volunteers who provide supports to seniors. So we really just wanted to build on that. And seniors themselves are often volunteers in those organizations, which of course has benefits in terms of engagement in the community, combating social isolation, and so on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Benson. And now to Madame Ferrata for 5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister, for joining us today. I would like to come back to the question that was asked about the perception of the CRB and those who had their monthly payments reduced. You did already answer the question, but I'm wondering whether you could speak to us about this. Maybe we could have some more details about how these individuals will be compensated. How will it work for those who had benefits outside the 2020 tax year? Also, why is C12 so important? What exactly will it change for protecting seniors in the future?
Thank you for that very important question, Mr. I'll call you Soroya, for that extremely important question. And I will say, on this, at least part of our government's response has always been there to support those most vulnerable seniors. And that is why we moved quickly on some of the measures that we talked about since 2015 on, restoring the age of eligibility back to 65 for OAS and GIS, or enhancing the GIS, or enhancing the CPP. But when you talk about, and we've all been in this now for 2 years, when the pandemic first hit, almost 2 years ago, we, as you know, moved extremely quickly to provide support for Canadians, for workers, for seniors, for students, for businesses. And these programs were certainly meant to ensure that people can stay at home, they can stay safe and have roof over their head, and they are able to make ends meet. We know that some seniors were part of that group that relied on these pandemic benefits to help them get through this crisis. And not to be clear, I think it's important to recognize that also every year, thousands of seniors get their GIS adjusted depending on their income of the previous year. So since some of these working seniors received these pandemic benefits because they needed at this time, they had their GIS affected in 2021. And I agree, they shouldn't be penalized for that because they needed that support at that time. And I want to assure the honorable members in this committee that, when I first got appointed to this role, this was the very first thing that we worked on. Worked very quickly with our officials to look at all options possible, worked with the Minister of Finance to quickly put in a major investments in the financial and economic update to fully compensate these seniors who were affected. And that work, as I mentioned, is already underway. This is going to be an automatic one-time payment. It will support affected seniors by fully compensating them for their full loss of their GIS and aligned benefits. And to your second point, why it is so important, to ensure that we move forward on Bill C-12. It is going to ensure that this doesn't happen again. and to fully, fulfill the commitment that is in my mandate letter, we introduced Bill C-12. It is going to simply amend the Old Age Security Act to exclude any income received under the CERB, the CRB, for the purposes of calculating their GIS or allowance amounts payable. It is a very simple bill. It is quick, but a significant amendment to the OAS to ensure that seniors, particularly those most vulnerable, are not impacted again this year for the benefits that they received last year. As I mentioned, I've already proactively reached out to all parties. They all agree. They have been calling on this. I really hope that we can move quickly to move this forward, because we need to get into this place to make sure that doesn't have an impact again. And maybe Cliff or Alexis, do you want to talking a little bit about why it's so important to get it in place as soon as possible so that we don't have that impact again this year?
Thank you, Minister. Just very quickly, this legislative change that is currently before the House, it is critical that it be passed by the beginning of March, because in order for it to not impact individual entitlement for GIS effective in July. GIS is renewed every July based on the previous tax year's income. And therefore, the system changes that we make always occur in March, when we shift from the previous tax year to the most recent tax year. And that is why it is absolutely critical that this legislation be passed for us to be able to deliver the program and with the objectives of that legislative change. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Ferrada. There was only a few seconds left. I will now move to Madame Chabot for 2.5 minutes. Madame Chabot.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, Minister. I'd like to discuss a commitment in your mandate letter, which was also a government commitment, about old age security. It's a good idea gone wrong. The good idea is to increase it. The bad part is to only do so at 75. Old age security is for those over 65. In this mandate letter commitment, you are discriminating against seniors based on age. You are creating a lasting problem in the OAS program. You describe yourself as being very sensitive and caring a lot about the situation of seniors. So will you make this increase applicable for those over 65?
Merci pour la question.
Thank you for the question.
Mr. Chair, through you, I would like to tell the honourable member, from the very beginning, our government's priority has been there to support those most vulnerable seniors. The focus on older seniors in that OAS increase recognizes 3 extremely important things, and I think it's important to highlight those. The first is around the fact that seniors are living longer, which is a good thing. But we also know they are more likely to be running out of their savings as they spend more years in their retirement. Second is around the fact that older seniors are statistically more likely to be low income. They're more likely to be widowed. They're more likely to have a disability, all of which come with the higher costs, as we all know. And of course, the OAS system has always had varying amounts for different groups. It's based on the years of course, residency in Canada as well. But in particular, with our focus on targeting the most vulnerable, we worked hard to strengthen their overall income security and OAS that they rely on in particular. And our plan, of course, delivers on that promise.
Madame la Ministre,
it is
il y a
around...
des plus vulnérables.
Minister, people can be vulnerable at all different ages. And how do you justify discriminating based on age?
Well, what I'll tell the honourable member is that the plan that we have, as we know, it was a commitment in 2019 also to increase the OAS by 10% for seniors 75 and older, and we kept that promise, and we will be delivering on that this summer. But I also want to allude to another mandate commitment that I do have in my mandate letter. It is around increasing the guaranteed income supplement by $500 for single seniors and $750 for couples, starting at the age of 65. And that is something that is a priority for me, and I'm going to make sure I move forward and make sure we deliver on that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Zarrillo. Now to Madame Thank you, Madame Shabbat. And now to Madame Zarrillo for 2.5 minutes to end this hour. Madame Zarrillo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just have to come back to this vital proactive tool to protect the well-being and the dignity of seniors going forward, and that is a national seniors strategy. So I would ask to the chair, to the minister, when can Canadians see a national seniors strategy in the budget, and does the minister agree that there is a need for it with all of the learnings that have come from COVID-19?
Thank you for that question. And as I have alluded to this question earlier, I will say is, look, we know this pandemic has certainly, we've seen the realities that I think many seniors have faced, the vulnerabilities that do exist. But I will say is the work that we have been able to do, whether it was around strengthening the financial security for seniors, and I would allude to looking at my mandate letter, whether it is the increase of the guaranteed income supplement by $500 for single seniors and $750 for couples, or whether it is looking at and how do we get more seniors to continue to live longer in their own communities, whether it is around with our commitments of Age Well at Home program, or of course creating an expert panel for provide recommendations of for aging at home benefit, or around the fact that we need to be ensuring that those living and working in those long-term care homes have the supports that they need. Of course, when it comes to the national senior strategy, this is something that I know the committee has looked at. This is something that I know that the National Seniors Council is able to provide advice on whether this senior strategy could be useful in our government's attention to seniors' well-being. And I look forward to certainly working with all members in this House to make sure that we continue to find different ways how we can continue to support seniors. That is a priority for me, and I look forward to building that and having those continued discussions with this committee, and of course, indeed, all members in this place. Thank you.
Madame Zarrillo, to end, if you
and
want.
So my final question will just be about gender lens and gender-based analysis. And when dealing with seniors, we know that we over-index for women seniors, and we also know that LGBTQ plus seniors are often missed in the supports that come out. So I just wanted to get an understanding of this expert panel and what the gender lens will look like.
Minister?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is something that is a priority for me. As you know, our government has made sure that we put in a GBA plus lens, the gender-based analysis lens, and everything that we do as a government, whether it is our budgets or the investments that we have made. We also know, when you talk about those most vulnerable seniors, when you add in that intersectionality of those single seniors, those particularly mostly are women, or the LGBTQ, or those minority groups, those vulnerabilities grow even more. And that is a priority for me. I can assure the honourable member that we are looking into to make sure that as we move forward in our programming and the work that we do, that we're going to ensure that that is part of the work that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Zarrillo and Madame Minister, as well as the witnesses for appearing today to answer the questions for committee members. And thank you, committee members. With this, we will now adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.